held that ticket up and let it sink in slow. One man standing in a sudden blinding light, in a town where everybody's gonna know. Word travels fast when the walls are paper thin, and a lucky man can turn into a sin. Was it the money? Was it the money? Did the winning ticket write your end? Was it the money? Was it the money? Did it make you somebody's means to an end? He'd done his time, paid back what the court had asked, walked out the gates and tried to just forget. But ghosts don't care how many tears you've shed, and some men collect their revenge like a dead. Old enemies move quiet through the dark. A jackpot winner makes an easy mark. Was it the money? Was it the money? Did the winning ticket write your end? Or did the past come riding in to find you? Was it money or the ghosts around the bend? Was it the money? Does anybody know? Was it the money? Where did you go? Blood on the floor in a sea no one can ignore. A life erased like it never was. Nobody found and no answers anymore. Somebody knows and somebody always does. Was it the money or the life before? Did old enemies come knocking on your door? Was it the money? Was it the past? Did everything you dreamed to fall too fast? Was it the money? Somebody knows. Was it the money? Where did you go? Somebody knows. Somebody always does. Somebody out there knows what happened, because where did you go? Where did you go?
Live on the air, Trial Junkies United presents Justice After Dark with your host, Z.
Thank you, Doc. Hey, everybody. Billy's here, and Pammy, and of course our lovely mods, Irish, Luna Fairy, and Fala, and Sleuthy. Our Stormy's here. Let's see. Oh,
Mustang.
Semi-Sharp.
Mustang,
Mustang.
is here. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad you guys came. I know we switched days because tomorrow we have an appointment, but I didn't want to not do one of our stories because this one's an important one and it's a mystery. I think you're gonna like this one, so let's get started. Welcome to our Trial Junkies, our truth seekers, and our justice warriors. I'm Z, your storyteller in the wilderness of injustice, and my ride or die, Doc, is riding shotgun as we navigate the darkness where the predators hunt and the system fails. And it failed. Are you ready to ride, Doc?
Yeah. I got to get in the saddle here. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, you're ready. Okay, that's good. Tonight we're going to tell a story society would rather leave buried, but we refuse to let silence be betrayal. Every Thursday, you know, we honor our Indigenous Native brothers and sisters and our First Nations, and we tell their stories so no one is forgotten. And tonight's story begins the way a lot of dreams do, with one impossible lucky moment, a young man, a scratch ticket, $1 million, and then just weeks later, gone, blood in an RV, no body, no arrest, no answers. We're going to travel up to Canada to the Whitefish Lake First Nations Reserve. So bundle up, everybody. But to understand what happened to Joshua Francis Saulteaux, you have to go back further than the lottery win. You have to go back to a house in South Edmonton, a night in January 2021, and two people who were tortured to death in the place where Joshua and his mother used to live. Two things can be true at the same time, you guys. Joshua was involved in something terrible. He served the time the justice system handed down. He got out. He ended up winning the lottery, and then he vanished from his grandparents' yard in the middle of the night, with blood left behind and a mother who believes he was taken, tortured, and murdered. So we're going to tell you the whole story, and I have questions, and I know you will too. Okay, so let's start first with, who is Joshua? And that's the reservation, the Whitefish Lake Reservation, like I said, up there in Winnipeg, Manitoba. But Joshua Saulteaux, that's it. Joshua Francis Saulteaux was 25. He came from the Whitefish Lake First Nation, number 128. It's a Cree community in Treaty 8 territory in northeastern Alberta and 180 kilometers northeast of Edmonton. There is suspense, Pammy. He was also connected to the Kikanu Métis settlement in the same region. Nearly everyone in the community either knew Joshua or knew someone who did. His uncle or grandfather. Sometimes they call him his uncle, sometimes they say grandfather. But Francis Moran described him plainly. He was a young man, 25 years old. He had a good heart. He was a kind person. And he would take my nieces and nephews out shopping, take them to the movies. He's not just a missing person, he's a loved one to us. Now, his mother, Natalie Moran, said Joshua was fiercely protective of her, of his siblings, of anyone he cared about. She said, we were really close. He always made sure I was okay. Those are important statements. So let's focus on those too. His grandmother, Eliza Daniels, is a minister from Edmonton. She described watching him grow up. She said, I watched him slip up. I watched him fall. I watched him get back up. She said he always knew he could come to his kukuman, which meant grandmother. And I hope I said that correctly. And be honest, no matter what he was going through, he could come to me. Joshua was living a quiet life now. He was talking to his uncle Francis about getting steady work on the oil rigs. Plans. He was planning out his future. Something to build on. And then in April of 2025, he walked into a small convenience store in town, a place he'd probably been 100 times. And on a whim, he brought a scratch ticket. He scratched off the silver coating and the numbers lined up. $1 million. Think about that. $1 million. There's a photo of Joshua from that day. And if you've seen it circulated everywhere online since his disappearance, he's holding up his winning ticket and smiling that full open smile people talk about. It looks like pure joy. Looking at it now, knowing what comes next, it's hard not to see it differently. Like a snapshot taken right before everything changed. Word traveled fast in a community that size. News like that doesn't stay quiet for long. And that's not just a figure of speech. In Canada, it's actually built into the rules. Provincial lottery corporations are required to share your name, your hometown, and often a photo when you win a major prize. The purpose is transparency to prove the games are real. But the real world effect is that overnight, your face, your name, and exactly how much money you came into becomes public record. Anyone can know, anyone can find you. A few provinces like British Columbia and Ontario have started softening those rules slightly, listing only a first name, maybe a last initial, and the city. But in a community that small, people are going to know who you are. But complete anonymity is basically impossible in Canada unless you can prove a specific threat to your safety. By comparison, in the United States, states like Texas, Delaware, Kansas, and Maryland now allow lottery winners to stay anonymous, specifically to protect them from exactly the kind of attention that can turn dangerous. But Joshua didn't have that option. What should have been a life-changing blessing may have marked him instead for something else. So Joshua used some of his winnings to buy a Forest River RV trailer. He didn't want to leave home. He parked it right next to his grandparents' property, where several family members were also staying. But he had his own little corner of the world, still close to everybody he loved because they were very close. And at first, things seemed like they were falling into place. He was still talking about going out on the oil rigs and about his plans for the future. But as word was spreading about his win, the family and friends started noticing changes, new faces coming around, unfamiliar people calling, Joshua growing more uneasy with each passing day. Now, Natalie, his mother, later said after his lottery win, people started to come around, and I think he hung out with the wrong people. On May 5th of 2025, it was a Monday night, something had shifted in Joshua. He was afraid. Before he disappeared, Joshua went to his mother's home. Then he went to his grandparents' home. And he told them something that should have set off every alarm bell. He said, "They're coming for me." And then he hid his phone, the one with all of his banking information, inside his grandparents' house for safekeeping. Put a pin in that because we're going to come back to that.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Yeah. He didn't want anyone to be able to find him through his finances. He was taking precautions. He knew something was wrong. That gives me so many questions like, who did he think was coming for him? Why didn't he tell his parents that? And his younger brother, Eric, also was there that night, staying up late. He remembers hearing Joshua pacing upstairs, restless, agitated, unable to calm down. "Hey, Farquhar. Thanks for dropping in from down under, darling." He said people were after him. Eric recalled, "I went outside and looked around. There was no one there, no cars, nothing." And then hours later, around 4 in the morning, Joshua's cousin Javier watched him walk away from the property. He said, "I watched him leave." Javier said quietly, "I have questions. Number one, Javier, what were you doing up at 4 a.m. looking out the window? Did you hear something?" And if you look at these pictures, Javier kind of he's the one in the red sweatshirt. He kind of seems like he's closing himself off, like he's trying to protect himself, kind of hugging himself. I don't know if he was just nervous because of the interview, first time being on TV, or did he see something that scared him? You know, you wonder what could have been going on. But that was the last time anyone in Joshua's family saw him. And then on May 6th, so you can see how close the house is to the trailer. It's just right there. So on May 6th, 2025, his sister went to call him to come to breakfast. Now, these photos were taken in the fall of 2025. This was happening in May, but this was from APTN, which is Aboriginal People Network up in Canada. And so His sister went to call on him to come get breakfast. She went out to the RV on the family property, just right across the way, and found it empty. But what they discovered when she stopped inside, there was blood splattered throughout the trailer. Now, Francis here said there was no sign of Joshua. And Francis, when he was called and told what was happening, that there was blood and that Joshua was missing, he left work immediately, drove straight home. And he said when he saw it for himself, he said the trailer was empty and there was blood all over the trailer. Moran also revealed something that reframes everything in the weeks before he vanished. Joshua, of course, we know, had won that $1 million lottery prize and had told his mother he was scared that people were coming for him. And I mean, you can see as she's walking up the steps, there's blood. And I don't know if that's his puppy that was in the house or if the dog came with her. I mean, talk about contamination of a crime scene, but
That's what I was thinking.
you know, when you go over there and you're not thinking that that's what you're going to discover, you're just going to get your brother for breakfast.
Yeah.
You know, you're not prepared for that. There was blood on the bed, blood on the wall. I mean, it was just insane how much blood there
So
was.
these were pictures immediately after when she
Family
was
took. Yeah.
Yeah, before any authorities got involved at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and this one is the most interesting because if you look in the corner, you guys, do you see the fire extinguisher? Do you see blood dripping down the fire extinguisher? To me, that looks like someone was probably hit with the fire extinguisher. And we all know that a head wound would bleed a lot.
Yeah.
So the family, they didn't wait. The family, their friends, the community members, anyone who could help started combing through the woods, the fields, the ditches, every path they could think of. Francis himself spent weeks driving, searching, and looking. He said, we searched around the house, surrounding areas. I spent many weeks after just driving and looking for Joshua, and he's still missing. You know, I mean, that is a lot of blood. The RCMP confirmed that the family had already feared. The blood matched Joshua's DNA. There was splatter on the walls, on the floor. Nothing, no footprints that made sense. You know, they said there was no phone and no trace. Remember, he hid his phone. So I told you to remember that, pin that moment. Because when they're looking around the trailer, the RV, they're going, well, there's no phone, there's no trace. And then when the sun rose, his RV was empty. His belongings are still inside, untouched. Now, he had a pickup truck, but his pickup was at the mechanic shop. So he had nowhere to go, no way to get there. Yeah, Stormy, exactly. That had to be a lot of force because look at how much is dripping down that.
Yep.
And look at how much is in that corner beside the fire extinguisher. Yeah. And
So
yet
he would have been stuck at the trailer before going to get his vehicle. Somebody would have had to drive him.
Yeah, because his vehicle was at the shop.
Right.
You know, and yet they said there were no footprints outside the trailer that they could see. The blood was starting up on the steps. So was that transfer? Was it transfer from what was inside as somebody left? You just wonder. But like the family said, he had nowhere to go and no way to get there without his pickup. And yet he's gone. And where would he go without his vehicle? Because if he was setting up, let's say he got his RV, he had a pickup truck, and maybe he was planning on traveling, you'd wait till you got your truck back, wouldn't you? I mean, I would. Now remember his cousin said he saw him walk off at 4 a.m. That doesn't mean it happened at that time. Did he come back home and Javier never saw him? So we don't know. But I have questions, and I want to talk about how this investigation was handled, because I think you deserve to hear exactly what happened. And I think you're going to have a lot of questions too. I mean, look, see there, in that you could almost see a foot, like a footprint. And I can't tell if it's a bare footprint or a boot. But Joshua's uncle, Francis, says that after the family discovered the blood, they immediately reported him missing. They contacted the RCMP. They did not come to inspect the trailer or speak directly with the family for 2.5 days. The family told him their loved one was missing. There was blood found in his RV, and they never showed up for over 2.5 days.
Interesting.
The family called. They said, hey, this is what we found. Now, we know his sister was in the trailer. We know the puppy was in the trailer. We know Francis was in the trailer. Who else went in there? Because for 2.5 days, nobody was showing up. Did they keep going in looking for clues? I don't know. The RCMP did show up after, almost half a week, and it seemed like it didn't really matter to them. They'd come around and they haven't done a whole lot, said Moran, his uncle. Now, this is Matthew Howell of the police, and he said, and we'll try and be fair to them. See, that's it, fella. I don't know if the puppy belonged to Joshua or if it was his sister's. The puppy might have been hers, and when she went over and opened the door, and the puppy could have just, ran in. So the puppy's okay. You don't have to worry about the puppy. But we'll try and be fair to the Alberta RCMP. It'll be hard, but Corporal Matthew Howell did say that behind the scenes, the investigation went further than the public saw. He said that they did interview more than 60 people. They did some polygraph tests. They had cadaver dogs and drones were deployed. They did ground searches covering hundreds of man hours. So, I mean, that's good. I mean, I'm glad to hear what they did do for the searches. But here's the thing. The RCMP's major crime unit, they're no longer actively investigating this case, you guys. They've downgraded it. Joshua Francis Saulteaux is now simply listed as a missing person, not a homicide investigation, not an active crime, a missing person.
I'm not a trained police officer. I haven't been through any of the authorities' training programs, and I can look at that scene and I can go, "Hey, something's wrong here."
Yeah,
and that doesn't take a rocket scientist.
exactly.
That's just plain common sense.
Yeah, I agree. And now this is their theory, that he may have walked out of the RV on a cold night in inadequate clothing and succumbed to the elements. Temperatures dropped to around 0 Celsius that night, and that's what they're going with. Then here's my question. Where's his body? If he just wandered off because he fell down, hit himself in the head?
Yeah, let's hold on to the thought of what's up with all the blood?
Yeah. What, he fought himself?
Yeah.
Let's get real here. And if he did wander off, let's say, where's his body? Because he wouldn't have been in a good mental state to have, hidden himself. If someone dies of hypothermia, it's not like they're going out there hiding in a cave or something. They would have found him by now. So His family's response to that theory is simple. There's too much amount of blood inside that RV, blood that is Joshua's, and it's splattered on the walls. And his family does not believe a man walked away voluntarily, leaving that amount of blood behind. And I agree with them. Hey, Ken, thanks for joining us and Therapist You Know.
If he had been hit by that extinguisher there sitting on the floor, the man would be delirious. How is he going to get very far?
Exactly. Because look at that. Look at how much blood is going down that extinguisher and also on the wall beside it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, did he fall there? We don't know. It's very mysterious. And something is not making sense. And his uncle, Francis, said, "We believe a crime took place in there. If not, what else could have happened?" He thinks his nephew could have trusted the wrong people after his sudden windfall because he won $1 million in the lottery.
Yep. And
people were coming around. He said on the night he went missing, he went into his mom's home and said, "They're coming for me." So you can see how possibly, it's a situation like that. Stormy, you're right. There could have been a struggle. You don't see a lot of stuff thrown around, but it doesn't look like he had a lot of stuff. If you've ever been in an RV, this was a single guy. And so I don't think he just had a lot of knickknacks, let's say.
Well,
tchotchkes.
Did the RMP our RMPC did they actually have anything constructive to say as to why is all this blood out here?
No. They're the Royal Mounted Canadian Police.
Right. Okay.
And no, they didn't. They're saying they think he just wandered off, left all that blood behind and wandered away. Yeah, that's not making sense to me. I'm just, and you're right, Stormy, that the fire extinguisher, it does look like whoever hit, because it's right by the door. So it's like, did someone use it and hit him and then place it there and walk out? Because that is odd how it's just placed sitting right there. But as you can see, there's like a blood pool beside it. Interesting. So Joshua's Francis Moran, either his uncle or grandfather, you get both in all the information I read and researched, but he says you don't know what to think because of the blood. He says you don't know, what took place in there. And the community has asked for answers. And what they keep getting is just silence. His uncle put words to what so many Indigenous families already know. And that's, as an Indigenous community, it seems like all of our sisters and brothers go missing and everyone just turns a blind eye. You wonder if my nephew had blonde hair and blue eyes, if things would have been different. You should care for your people, not just on voting day.
I can answer that question.
Okay.
Yeah, because yes, it would have made a difference. Wholeheartedly.
Exactly. Stormy, you're right. Dexter could probably tell us what exactly happened in that trailer. Yeah. Pammy, you just wonder. But now this is where I'm going to take you somewhere a little bit harder, because to understand what may have happened to Joshua Saulteaux in May of 2025, we're going to go back to January of 2021 to a house at 111th Street and 78th Avenue in the McKieran neighborhood of South Edmonton. On January 6th of 2021, police responded to a call from a woman who was living in the basement suite of this home. She had seen strangers bring a badly beaten, bloodied woman downstairs into her unit. And then moments later, she saw that woman taken back upstairs. And she saw another person, a man, beaten and bound in one of the bedrooms. When officers arrived, the suspects were gone, but what they left behind was impossible to miss. On the main floor, they found Daniel Granbois, I think is how you pronounce it, and I apologize to his family if I messed that up. He was 30 years old, and he was deceased. His hands were bound behind his back. His body was rolled into a carpet in the basement. And then they also found Deidre Aldridge, 29 years old, and I couldn't find a photo of her. She was hogtied with an electrical cord wrapped in another carpet secured with tape, appearing to have been readied for removal. Neither of them lived in this house, but both had been tortured. Put a pin in that. They had been tortured. Both had been stabbed repeatedly. An autopsy found that Granbois died from multiple chop and stab wounds to the head and neck. Aldridge had been stabbed at least 22 times with additional injuries to her mouth, tongue, and face. Wounds investigators described as consistent with torture. There was a mop, a bucket of bloody water, garbage bags full of rags, and paper towels scattered at the scene. Someone had tried to clean this up in a hurry. Okay, now you're asking me, what does this have to do with our missing young man? Well, here we go. 5 people were charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. Among them was Joshua Saulteaux and his mother, Natalie Moran. There was also a minor who was not allowed to be named. Martin Dubsky, I think is how you pronounce it. I don't know, don't care, don't like him. He was 40 years old. He was Natalie's boyfriend or partner at the time. And then Jared Watuni was also charged. Now, this is the picture. That's Jared and Natalie, Joshua's mom. Okay. Now, Natalie had been renting the main floor suite of that home. Her son Joshua and her partner Dubsky were all there at the time, and they were all charged. In the end, no one was convicted of the murders themselves. Yeah. Joshua and Natalie, along with the other co-accused, pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of accessory to murder. They both served, Natalie and Joshua served prison sentences, but not long. The murder charges were stayed. The minor wasn't charged at all. The people who actually carried out those killings have never been held criminally responsible. These people stuck together on their stories, what happened. And it said Deidre Aldridge's family and Daniel Granbois' family are still waiting for answers. They didn't accept the apologies that Natalie and the others gave in court. They say, I can't say I blame them either. I mean, I don't. If I had been their family members, I wouldn't, they get up there and say, we're sorry to what happened, because they said they were just cleaning up. They didn't do anything. They were just cleaning up. And I want to say that plainly. Their loved ones were tortured and murdered.
Yeah.
They deserve justice too. And that justice has never fully come. And I also want to say what the source documents say about Joshua directly. Both Joshua and Natalie maintained they were not the ones who committed the deletions. Natalie admitted to helping with the cleanup, to attempting to remove evidence, and she has been publicly remorseful. She apologized to the families. She spoke about falling into addiction and domestic violence as factors that caused her to spiral. So that Dubinowski, or whatever his name was, she was hanging out with him. We'll just call him Dub. She was hanging out with Dub and had domestic violence and addiction issues, but she brought her children along because Joshua was living there. He would have been around 20 or 21 years old at the time. Now, remember how we talked about, she said he always protected her and his family members. So did he get involved in this as a young man trying to protect his mother? We don't know. We don't know the full story. But he did his time and he was released. And both things could be true at the same time. Because what happened in this house was horrific. But Joshua Saulteaux paid the price that the justice system assigned to him. He only did a couple of years. So I'm not saying that the families got justice for their family victims, but he did serve the time the justice system assigned him. But that doesn't erase the pain for the Aldridges and the Grandboyce families. And it also means what happened to Joshua after his release deserves to be investigated. He's still a missing person. Simi, you're right. Now there's some more motive, isn't there?
So wait a minute. I might be off a bubble here, but was there any reason given as to why? I mean, this cleanup that they were supposedly doing, was that before or after the police had been there?
No, the police didn't come until, because when the police got there, everybody else was gone. I think it was the woman that rented the place below that saw what was going on. She called the cops. Everybody fled. And then they came in, they found that someone had been attempting to clean up, and they found both of the victims.
But there was they didn't give any excuse as to why they were trying to clean up the place. I mean, let's think. People had just been deleted,
right?
And you are majorly messing with a crime scene.
Yes. Well, Natalie said she was in the midst of addiction. There was domestic violence with her partner at the time, Dub, who was also arrested. So, and they weren't arrested right away either. It took about a year or so before anyone even got arrested in this case. And Canada, you're a little too lenient if you ask me. We got some questions there for you.
So is she trying to say that she wasn't in her right mind, cleaning up the mess?
Well, I'm not saying she wasn't in her right mind. She was trying to say that, I think what she's trying to say is she was doing what she was told.
Okay.
But yet nobody waved from the story. All 5 of them stuck to the same story, that they were all like cleanup crew. It's like, what? You guys just came home and found these bodies, and what? You decided, hey, let's start cleaning up? That's not normal. Because the 2 victims did not live in the house. She rented that one floor.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. But there's more to the story.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I need you to pay close attention, because this is where the story gets even more complicated, because Joshua and Natalie were not the only ones charged in this connection of the 2021 murders. One of the other co-accused was a man named Jared Watween, I think. We'll just call him Twat. So Twat pleaded guilty to accessory to deletion in December of 2024. Years after the original charges. But with the pretrial time already served, he walked out of prison serving only 64 days. Okay? 64 days, because he'd already been there being held. 64 days for his role in a double deletion homicide. Now, weeks later, on April 6th of 2025. Now remember, Joshua is still amongst us at this time. Twat was arrested in April and charged with first-degree deletion and the shooting death of a 52-year-old man named Daryl Dimchuk near the LRT station in Mills Woods, Edmonton. Dimchuk, investigators say, appears to have been a complete stranger to the Twat, and he had right after he finished his sentence for the 2021 case, right? Weeks later, police say, now another man has lost his life because of this guy. So on April 15th, the Twat and his friend, Brandon Henry, were both charged with first-degree deletion in this other man's death. They were also charged with arson for allegedly torching a vehicle on the same day as the killing. And then, so think about that. Here he is. He just got out of jail. He commits another murder. And the guy, yeah, Ken, you're right. And it was a stranger. This is the kind of people that sadly Natalie had her children around. Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of scary. Now, on December 7th of 2022, remember the first deletions happened in 2021. But on December of 2022 in Edmonton, police responded to a call in a suite in the Westwood area and found Kyle Sidra, I don't know. We'll just call him Kyle, 39, in medical distress. He was declared deceased at the scene. The medical examiner ruled the cause of death a gunshot wound and manner of death homicide. 2 men have since been charged. One was Jermaine Hole, 37, and charged with second-degree deletion. And then on April 7th of 2024, Dub, Natalie's partner, was arrested and charged with second-degree murder on April 24th of 2024. Now, the interesting thing is Dub was already behind bars waiting for his sentencing on the 2021 cases. So 2021, he's part of the cleanup crew. Now we find out a year later, he was deleting another person. Think about that. I just don't understand. These are the kind of people that were hanging around this family. Her ex-partner had, right after this other case, went and deleted another person. But he was already behind bars at the time of his arrest, having being charged with the 2021 murders. And now he's getting more charges because of Kyle. So this was his third homicide case. So both of the 2 main guys they were violent people. So it makes you wonder if Natalie and Joshua were just victims, of these really violent people. We don't know. We don't know.
It almost sounds like, in a crime you can be, it can be you're guilty by association type deal.
Yeah.
Well, if she was in a position where she was, getting drugs from her boyfriend partner, she was probably in a bad situation and had her son was along for the ride,
Yeah. And the sad thing was, she actually had credentials to be a nurse, but she got caught up in addiction, sadly, and then started hanging out with the wrong people. And then her son got drug into this. So we don't know what Joshua and Natalie's, but it just adds more to this story. It's not just a simple somebody walked off. There's more hanging into this story. And it makes you wonder exactly what happened to Joshua. So he was part of something due to the element that he'd been around with his mom. And that brings us questions but regardless, Joshua Saulteaux disappeared on May 5th. And that was weeks after the twat's arrest for the third homicide.
Well, it would be very nice to know what he actually meant by "they're coming to get me."
Yeah. And we're not alleging that when, the twat got arrested in April. So we're not alleging there's a direct connection, but I'm just showing you the kind of violence and element he was around when this happened. So did these people hear about him winning $1 million? Exactly who was coming for him? But we want to make it clear. We're not saying that the twat had anything to do with it. We don't know. We don't know who, but I'm just trying to give you a full picture of the kind of element that they're hanging out with. And so,
Valid, he's killing me.
What can I say? Well, he has a weird name. And because part of the full picture is that the people connected to the 2021 case, a case involving extreme violence and torture, a case where no one was ever convicted of the actual deletions, there could have been other people still out there. Because what if they weren't the ones that actually, weren't involved? They were cleanup. Then who else could have been around that time? Makes you wonder. So they could still be walking free. And Joshua was a witness to all this. And then his picture appears in newspapers, smiling, holding up his lottery ticket, saying he won $1 million. Makes you wonder. His mother later said she couldn't help wondering. She said his face was revealed when he got the money. His face was revealed through the episode when they had those charges in 2021. She says, I can't say for certain which one brought danger to his door. Maybe both. And also, there could have just been new people that were jealous over him winning the money. Now, there is one moment in APTN's investigative documentary that I keep going back to, because during the filming at Whitefish Lake, Joshua's mom, Natalie Moran, stepped outside for a cigarette, and she didn't realize her microphone was still recording. And what she said in that unguarded moment about her son before she collected herself and went back in, it makes you think. And this was the reporter. This is Brittany Geo. She's really good. She's an investigative reporter. She said this is what Natalie said. She's talking about her son when she doesn't think anyone's listening. She says they started moving him around to different houses by then. When they realized they'd done too much to him, they had to off him. I feel like they tortured him. That's how I feel. Remember, I told you to pin it from those victims in 2021 because their murders were classified as torture. Now she's saying she feels her son was tortured. That's a mother who, when she thought no one was listening, described her son being moved between locations, tortured, and killed. Not walking away in the cold, not voluntarily disappearing, but being taken, moved, and deleted. The APTN, the Aboriginal People's Television Network, they're really good. They're in Winnipeg, Manitoba. They do some really awesome investigating on the First Nations. And Brittany's a really good reporter. I enjoy watching their stuff. But she actually contacted Natalie and directly asked her whether she believed that the 2021 double homicide played a role in Joshua's disappearance. She said she wasn't sure. She said it could basically be 50-50. She said because his face was revealed, the amount of money, and, it could have been that, or it could have been through those charges where he did prison time. Because we know sometimes vengeance might be slow, but sometimes people get their vengeance. And also, it was a terrible element they were hanging out with at that back in 2021. So could have some of them still have been around and seen what was going on and thought, hey, here's our chance to get some money. But Natalie also described something that she found on her own. She was searching around in the area, and she said weeks following Joshua's disappearance, she said she went to a house in the community where she actually believed Joshua had been taken. She says she found what appeared to be bones, bloodstains, and jars containing a red liquid. She says she reported this all to the police, but the RCMP says they have followed up on every tip and explored every investigative lead, but they've never confirmed any evidence of foul play at the location or anywhere else. So it makes you wonder, it's like, did you people even go check this place out?
Well, obviously not.
Yeah.
From what's being reported, that
because they think he just walked away.
Yeah.
And yet they know he has not spent any of the money. Well, we don't even know if it is it's jars of red you know, they don't know because I don't think the police went and checked. And, you know, Natalie, she feels in her heart what she feels in her heart and what she can prove are just two different things because she really feels the family really feels Joshua's been deleted. She says that gap between what a mother knows and what a system will acknowledge is a gap Indigenous families across Canada know too well. And
Well,
it's been nearly a year
yeah.
since Joshua was last seen.
Well, from what I could see, what I could tell, those pictures, there really wasn't blood outside.
Just on the step when she opened the door on the steps.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean,
But-
if he had walked out after being, you know, beat up like that, I mean, there would be blood out. It leads me to believe that he was wrapped up and carried off.
And that could be because when you go here, let me see if I can go back to those pictures. Because if you look at the bed, it looks like there might be sheets, but I didn't see a blanket. There.
Yeah. So
that just looks
could
like
he
sheets.
have been? Could he have been wrapped up and taken somewhere?
Yeah. You wonder.
And in that case, were there tracks outside from another vehicle?
And that's hard to tell because the police didn't show up for over 2.5 days.
Yeah. Jeez.
So, and think about this. I'm sure the family had other family that showed up to help search. They had other community members coming to help search. So people were pulling in.
Yep.
So, yeah, it makes you wonder. And there's the puppy fella.
Lots of crime scene contamination. Just tons of it. So.
Exactly. Yeah. And see, there's just way too much blood.
Yep.
And I mean, yes, we know a head wound bleeds a lot, but we also, could he have been in bed when they first hit him? And that's why they just wrapped him in a comforter. I don't know. We have questions.
Yep.
Now, this, it's been over a year since he's gone missing. And his grandmother, Eliza Daniels, organized a community search in the fall of 2025. And this gives you an eagle-eyed view of the searchers. And you can see it's a forested area that they live in. Eliza Daniels, she's the one in yellow, organized this search, and she drove 2 hours from Edmonton. She moved through the snow with careful footsteps, scanning the ground for any signs of her grandson. She told people how far to get from each other. She is planning another search this spring during the melt. So I don't know exactly when it is, but this is his grandmother literally digging what she thought was a mound of dirt. No grandmother should be having to do that. No grandmother should be out there digging into the dirt, trying to see if her grandson is buried there.
Yeah.
She says, I believe we are going to find him, and as long as we don't give up. And I mean, that breaks my heart. That this is what most of our Indigenous family members have to do because the police are not there to support them. Hey, Kerrville, good to see you, darling. But Francis said, simply, where are you? You know where you are, but we don't. His brother Eric, the one in the black sweatshirt, says sometimes alone in his room, he says, I think I hear him. And I think Joshua's calling me. He says, I just miss my brother so much. And his cousin Javier in the red sweatshirt, he says, I replay those last hours constantly. He was the last one who watched Joshua walk away from the house at 4 a.m. And he wonders what he should have done differently. Now, I'm thinking if he would have noticed there was blood on his cousin, he would have said something. Or if you get hit with that fire extinguisher, you're not going to be walking straight. I also wonder, did you really see your cousin or did you see someone else walking away? 4 a.m., it can still be dark.
Yeah.
They're out in the middle of nowhere.
Most likely it was.
Yeah. And Francis keeps driving dirt roads, back trails near the community looking for any trace. He said it hits all at once. We don't even care if somebody did it at this point. We just want to find his body and lay him to rest. He deserves that much. And Joshua's description is he's 5'10", 190 pounds, brown eyes, brown hair, last seen May 5th, 2025 at Whitefish Lake First Nations, Alberta. They've gone into Edmonton, which is a few hours away, but they've gone there and put posters up. So if anyone has information on the disappearance of Joshua Francis Saulteaux, anything at all, please contact the Goodfish Lake RCMP at 1-780-645-8888. You can also report to Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. And we will list these numbers. But it's a mystery. It is really with a lot of twists and turns because of that past case in 2021. So we don't know. But now we're going to look at some missing people. So stay alert. You can save a life. Remember the faces. We know sometimes people will leave voluntarily, but then they can't come home because of danger. We know they might not have the choice. Human trafficking is real. And these cases happen everywhere, and victims often go unnoticed. So look at people's faces, put that cell phone down, trust your instincts. If you recognize someone, please do something. If something just doesn't feel right, contact the police. Don't assume someone else is going to do it. If you really have an aversion to contacting the police, contact our email at tips4trialjunkiesunited@gmail.com. We'll pass along the information. But the smallest detail can make a difference. So please, let's find these people. We have the power to save a life. Now, this is Allison Uskan, and I know I'm butchering her name. She's 20 years old. She's been missing since February 10th of this year. The last contact with her was on that date in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, up there where Joshua was missing. She has brown eyes, black hair, shoulder length. She's 5'8". She's very thin. Contact the Winnipeg police at 204-986-6250 or Winnipeg Crime Stoppers at 204-786-8477. The case number is C as in Canada 26-63417. You can also contact the Bear Clan Patrol at 204-794-3568 or Morgan's Warriors at 204-996-9347. You can contact the Morgan's Warriors at morganswarriors.com. They really have come out strong. They have beautiful posters. So let's help find these people. Next, this is one that we've shown before. His sister sent me an updated poster that they have now. It's for David Storbakken, and he's still missing since last year of May 11th, 2024. So actually 2 years we're coming up on. He was at the Speedway gas station on Rice Street, Minnesota Avenue in Roseville, Minnesota. Around 3 a.m., he was last seen walking southbound from the Speedway. He is with the Leech Lake Mille-Lacs tribe. He's 6 foot tall, 135 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. He was last seen wearing a gray hoodie, white pants. He is an endangered person. He's diabetic. He had recently had amputation of some of his fingers, and he had been healing from that and he had been staying with his sister. And we know Melissa, she came on the show, and she's still looking for David. So let's help her find him. He had a faded eagle tattoo on the back of his hand. Please contact St. Paul PD at 651-291-1111 or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. There is a $10,000 reward. The next person we have, hey Josh, thanks for coming, is Elias Olivers. He's 13, you guys. He's been missing since February 20th from Denver, Colorado. 13 years old. He was last seen at 4:15 p.m. in the area of West 13th Avenue and Lowell Boulevard. His tribal affiliation is Oglala Sioux. His eyes are brown. His hair is brown. He's 5'11". He weighs 180 pounds. He was last seen in a black hoodie with a large white cross on the back. He had blue jeans and black athletic shoes, and he had a Nike bag. Now contact Denver Police at 720-913-2000 or any of these. Contact 911, worst case scenario. Okay, I'm going to give this a try. This is Ihublu.
There you go.
Ihublu. That is the Lakota word for blizzard. That's her name, Ihublu Villanova. She's 17. She's been missing since March 18th of this year from Adams County, Colorado. She has brown eyes, black hair. She's 5'8", 130 pounds. She was wearing a black hoodie, gray sweatpants, high top Nikes. They said she could be traveling toward Nebraska or to Nebraska. A missing persons, Indigenous persons alert was sent off by the Colorado Bureau of Investigations, and it is active. So contact the Adams County Sheriff at 303-288-1535. Now, this next one is Selena Arrow, or sometimes they call her Selena Lame. There's some confusion. One post says she's 52, one says she's 53. Now, the family says they last spoke with her on May 2nd. Other people are saying it was March 2nd. Others are saying it was March 8th, but the family's saying no, it was March 2nd. She's missing from Denver, Colorado, near Colfax and Broadway area. She's also Lakota Sioux. She has brown hair, brown eyes, 5'7", and weighs 155 pounds. She has a tattoo on her face located on her upper left cheek. No missing Indigenous person alert had been issued for quite a bit. And the reference number was 2026-162811. The Denver Police Department, 720-913-2000. She's from Pine Ridge, South Dakota. And part of the reason her case is very mysterious is because, they didn't send out an alert right away. That they finally got one out. So let's go back as we wind up tonight. Two things can be true at the same time. Joshua Francis Saulteaux, he had a past. It wasn't pretty. He was around 21, and the court records reflect involvement in something criminal. But he did the time the court gave him. So that chapter had closed. And yet someone may have decided it wasn't. Whether it was the lottery money, whether it was something else entirely, no one had the right to take his life. Not for winning $1 million, not for anything in his past. That's not how justice works. That's not how humanity works. We also want to take a moment and acknowledge Deidre Aldridge and Daniel Granbois and their families, because they are still waiting for answers about their loved ones. And they deserve those answers. Their grief is real, and it does matter. We're not trying to say it doesn't. But every family in every one of these cases deserves truth. Joshua is still missing. His family is still searching. His mother's still waiting. Say his name, Joshua Francis Saulteaux. The RCMP, if you have any information, contact them at 1-800-222-8477 is Crime Stoppers. The Whitefish Lake is 1780-6456. 615-8888. Remember, you guys, every killer and predator out there depends on our silence, so don't give it to them. And it wasn't a mannequin. It never is. And we know that somebody knows something. So tonight on Justice After Dark, we told you a story that matters about one of our Indigenous brothers who deserves to be remembered and searched for and brought home. Silence is betrayal, and we're not going to keep silent. So please, if you have any information, contact law enforcement. If you enjoyed what we do, you can, I know the girls have shared our links. You can go to Linktree and give us a coffee or something, or just even really sharing this, getting it out there. We got over 400 subs, you guys. We're growing, and it's all because of you guys. We're in this together.
Yep.
This is about helping the families and the victims, and we appreciate it. I've got some interviews coming up soon, and I think you're going to enjoy them. And if anybody's got a case they want us to look at, I know Farquhar, she sent me one from Australia I'm looking into. So, and I know another Patriotism, he sent me a trial he wants me to look at. So we're going to look into them. So just share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And until next time, you guys, stay informed, stay compassionate, keep seeking justice, and never stop speaking up. Hey, Doc, you want to say goodnight?
Good night, Doc.
And we're playing the same song that we wrote from the first to the last. It's a shorter song, but it kind of gives you an idea of what this case was about. And I thank you all because we do love you. We'll see you on Sunday. You guys have a good week, and ciao.
Numbers matched on a cold Alberta night. He held that ticket up and let it sink in slow. One man standing in a sudden blinding light, in a town where everybody's gonna know. Word travels fast when the walls are paper thin, and a lucky man can turn into a sin. Was it the money? Was it the money? Did the winning ticket write your end? Was it the money? Was it the money? Did it make you somebody's means to an end? He'd done his time, paid back what the court had asked, walked out the gates and tried to just forget. But ghosts don't care how many tears you've shed, and some men collect their revenge like a dead. Old enemies move quiet through the dark. A jackpot winner makes an easy mark. Was it the money? Was it the money? Did the winning ticket write your end? Or did the past come riding in to find life before? Did old enemies come knocking on your door? Was it the money? Was it the past? Did everything you dreamed to fall too fast? Was it the money? Somebody knows. Was it the money? Where did you go? Somebody knows. Somebody always does. Somebody out there knows what happened, because where did you go?